For those of you that are visiting us, or for those of you that have missed the past couple of weeks, several weeks, we have been studying the book of Revelation. We have been doing, I think, now 5 or 6 sermons in the book of Revelation. And we are going to continue to study the book of Revelation actually till the end of the year. So we are taking it really slow, because we want to actually go into the different details that each verse has. And we haven't even scratched the surface. So we are still in the introduction of the book of Revelation. We are kind of like trying to make you feel a little bit more familiar with some of the imagery that is in the book of Revelation before we dive into the middle chapters and the ending chapters of the book of Revelation, which is where all the meat of the prophecy is at. But today, I want to do a quick overview of what we studied so far. We started the series of the book of Revelation with chapter 1, and we learned that when John received this vision from God of what was to happen in the last times, it was God's intent that this thing happened when? Soon. But he has delayed, and it's been over 2,000 years since this vision, and he has still not come. And we were able to read through the Bible and through the spirit of prophecy that the reason why Jesus has not returned is because his church is not ready. And if you guys want me to give you the quotes, you can ask me after the sermon, and I can give you all the Bible verses and all the quotes from the spirit of prophecy that say that the reason why Jesus has not returned is because his church is not ready. It is our fault that Jesus has not returned. So we are trying to go through this book of Revelation so that we are able to understand what is the church to do to prepare the way for the second coming of our Messiah, Jesus Christ. And I think 3 Saturdays ago, I preached about the Lion King. And it so happened that it was the premiere of the movie Lion King. I didn't plan it that way, but it just worked out that way. And we saw throughout the Bible how Jesus is the king, the Lion of Judah. The lion symbolizes his position as king, right? And the Bible presents Jesus as the Lion of Judah, the king of heaven. And we saw that John is presented in this vision that the lion, nobody's able to open the scroll that God has in his hand, but the angel says, hey, don't cry, because the Lion of Judah, the king, he will return. He will come into the doors, and he will be able to open the scroll. But instead, when he looks, instead of a lion, a roaring lion, something or someone else walks in. A lamb. They were expecting a roaring lion, a king. But instead, a lamb walks in. And to make things even more impactful to heaven and to everybody that is gathered there, it's not just any lamb. It says that is a lamb that has been slain. So it's a lamb that is wounded, it's bloody, it was dead, and this lamb walks into the temple. And this lamb grabs the scroll and starts opening each one of its seals. And right after that, Pastor Justin introduced us 2 weeks ago into the 7 seals that are in this scroll. He did a quick overview of them, and he stopped after the 6th seal because there's a pause there before the 7th seal, and we are going to study that pause today. The pause between the 6th seal and the 7th seal tells us about the 144,000 and the big crowd. We thought that this chapter 7 of the book of Revelation, has so much information in it and so much stuff that we need to cover that one Saturday was not enough. So we are pausing on chapter 7 for the next 2 Saturdays, today and the next one, and possibly for a third Saturday on chapter 7. Pastor Justin is going to give us a sermon about the 144,000 that the Bible says in this chapter 7, which is how the chapter 7 begins. But I'm actually going to start today chapter 7 by going to the end of chapter 7. We're going to skip the middle. Pastor Justin will introduce us to that next Saturday. And I'm going to go to the end of chapter 7. And we're going to be reintroduced to the Lamb. And this time, it has another title. This time it says that this Lamb is also a shepherd. The Lamb is the shepherd. It's a shepherd lamb. All right? So we're going to study this today. Hopefully, you are able to join us to the reminder of this series throughout the rest of this year, so that we are able as a church to grow together and prepare the way for the return of Jesus. But today I want you to open your Bibles to Revelation chapter 7. And we're going to be reading these verses together. Chapter 7, verse 15 through 17. And I am reading from the New Living Translation. The reason why I have chosen to read from the New Living Translation today is because I believe that the language used here is a little bit simpler. Don't worry, when I prepare a sermon, I do not go by just a certain translation. I usually go to the original language to make sure that everything that says here is correct. So yes, the New Living Translation will be used today. I know some people don't like this version because it's too simple. But bear with me, this version will be just fine for today's sermon. And the verses say, "That is why they stand in front of God's throne and serve him day and night in his temple. And he who sits on the throne will give them shelter. They will never again be hungry or thirsty. They will never be scorched by the heat of the sun." Let's go to verse 17. "For the Lamb on the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of life-giving water, and God will wipe every tear from their eyes." So here, at the end of this chapter 7, we are reintroduced to the Lamb, who's now sitting where? This Lamb is sitting where? In the throne of God, because this Lamb is God. And this Lamb is sitting on the throne, and it says here, reintroducing the Lamb, that this Lamb will be our shepherd. This is a very strange thing to say. I have never seen a lamb lead other lambs. I've seen dogs lead lambs. I've seen shepherds lead lambs. But here it says that the Lamb will be their shepherds. He will lead them into springs of life-giving water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. I want to ask, where's Brandon? Oh, can you bring? Yeah, I forgot to ask in the beginning. Thank you. All right, I'm just going to put this here. We're going to use it later today. The summer is almost done, so I wanted to end the summer with this little pool, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. I just wanted to make sure that this was here for that moment. So when I read this verse, I was reminded of another verse in the Bible. The book of Revelation is full of imagery from the Old Testament. So for us, that we live in a different era and that we don't memorize the Old Testament like the Jews did, it's a little bit more difficult to make the connections of this imagery. Because we don't really know the Old Testament that well, let's be honest. But for someone that was raised having to memorize the Old Testament, verse by verse, and somebody that has been hearing these words over and over and over since he was just a baby, for that person, the book of Revelation would trigger certain memories back into all the verses that they've been learning from the Old Testament. And they will be able to pull out stories and say, I know exactly what this verse is talking about. And as a matter of fact, it just so happened that I wanted to know what this verse right here, for the Lamb on the throne will be their shepherd, and he will lead them in the spring of life-giving water. What this verse would trigger in the mind of a Jewish person. So I did my research, searched it up online on Google. Yes, I use Google. I searched it up online, and one of the top verses that the Jewish people connect when they hear these verses is found in Ezekiel. Ezekiel, it just so happened that it's another prophetic book. We always talk, as Seventh-day Adventists, we always talk about the book of Revelation, and we always talk about the book of Daniel as being prophetic books, but those are not the only prophetic books. There's a lot of prophetic books in our Bible, and Ezekiel is another prophetic book for the ending times. As a matter of fact, Ezekiel was given visions of what was to happen with the people of Israel, but it didn't stop there. He also gave Ezekiel what was to happen to the people of Israel and to the nations till the end of time, till the return of the Lamb. And to someone that is Jewish and is reading these verses, they will be triggered to think into Ezekiel 47. And I want to go to Ezekiel 47 because I want you to understand this imagery that will come to their head when they read these verses. Ezekiel 47 is a very simple story. I love this story. As a matter of fact, this is the story that we are preparing and basing our youth retreat on. So, youth that is going to the retreat, this is a Bible story we're going to be basing the whole retreat on. So pay attention today, and you're a couple steps ahead of the game. All right? So, these verses, I'm going to read them for you. I'm going to start chapter 47, verse 2. Ezekiel encounters a man, and verse 2 says, "The man brought me outside the walls of the temple, that is, through the north gate, and led me around the eastern entrance. There I could see the water flowing out through the south side of the east gate. Measuring as he went, he took me along the stream for 1,750 feet. If you are reading in your Bibles and it says 1,000, that is because it says 1,000 cubits. 1,000 cubits cubits are the measure that Jewish people used, and it's about from here to here. That's a cubit. That translates into what today we would say is about 1,750 feet. That's why my Bible says 1,750 feet. So let's continue reading. Measuring as he went, he took me along the stream for 1,750 feet, and then led me across the water. And across the water was up to my ankles. He measured off another 1,750 feet and led me across again. This time, the water was up to my knees. After another 1,750 feet, the water was up to my waist. Then he measured another 1,750 feet, and it was a river that was too deep to walk across. It was deep enough to swim in it, but too deep to walk through. All right, so what's happening here is Ezekiel has been receiving these visions, and it's a series of different visions of what is to happen in the future. And now he sees a man sent by God that tells him, "Walk with me." And he takes him to the entrance of the temple. And in the entrance of the temple, Ezekiel sees that there's a stream of water. Tiny little stream of water. Flowing from the altar out of the temple and flowing into the valley. And the man tells Ezekiel, "Walk with me." So they start walking, and they walk 1,700 feet. And they stop, they take a break, because they're probably tired from the sun, walking so long. They take a stop, and Ezekiel looks down, and the water is up to his knees. He's like, this feels nice. On a hot day, being in the water, this feels nice. And the man says, keep walking, follow me. He keeps walking. They walk another 1,700 feet, and now the water is up to their knees. He's like, all right, this is interesting. From that little stream in the temple, now we're like over 3,000 feet away, and now it's up to my knees. This is cool. And the man is like, we're not done. Walk with me. The man keeps walking. They walk together 1,700 feet, and they are up. The water is up to their waist. And at this point, I imagine Ezekiel being like, I don't think we should keep going. I see where this is going, and I don't like it. But the man says, walk with me another 1,700 feet. They walk together, and Ezekiel is found in a river that is so deep that he says that it will be impossible for any man to cross. And this was the vision given to Ezekiel about the last times. And this is what I want to focus today. When we read in Revelation that the Lamb will be their shepherd, and that the shepherd will guide them through springs of living water. For a Jewish person, this is the connection that is being made. The shepherd, the lamb that is a shepherd, guiding them through, is the same man that is found in Ezekiel 47. And this man is telling them, walk a little deeper. Come with me, little deeper, into the springs, into the river of life-giving water. Well, that is a beautiful pool that I found online. Let me tell you something about myself. When I was a kid, all of you already know, I grew up in Puerto Rico. Many of you had the chance of visiting my homeland this past summer. And you guys are able to testify today how hot it is in Puerto Rico. Mercy. There's no AC in the houses. I would say like 10% of the houses in Puerto Rico have AC, if that. There's no AC in Puerto Rico. If you want AC, you go to the mall. But in the houses, there's no AC. So it's hot. And the houses are made out of concrete. So the air doesn't flow very well. And it's hot. You can ask our youth that were sleeping in that church building. And during the day, I felt like I was in a fiery furnace. It was hot. And as I was growing up, one of my favorite things to do when it was hot outside was to tell my mom, let's go to the pool. Makes sense, right? It's really hot. You go to a pool, you refresh. Many houses in Puerto Rico, most houses in Puerto Rico don't have pools. That's not something that normal people in Puerto Rico could afford. It's a lot of money on maintenance and all that. So many people don't have pools. So what they do is they go to Walmart, to the summer section of Walmart, and they buy a portable or one of those pools, that you can just fold back again, and that's it. So every summer I would tell my mom, let's go to the pool. And my mom would be like, well, I don't know where we could go. And my mom hates the beach. She has a hate relationship with the beach, so she will never take me to the beach. She's afraid of it. So for me, the only option was the pool. So I want to go to the pool. So my mom will go every year to Walmart, and she will go to the pool section, and she will get me this amazing pool right here. Yeah. This was my pool for many, many summers. Well, not this one in particular, but something like this. And when I was 3 years old, it was amazing. When I was 4 years old, it was cool. When I was 5, it was all right. When I was 12, yeah, not so much. This pool was not fun anymore. And I would tell my mom, but let's go to a real pool. And she's like, and what is that? That's a real pool. What are you going to do in the pool? Well, it's because it's so hot that I want to cool up. It has water, it's cold, and it's a pool. I was like, no, Mom, that's what type of pool? Kiddie pool. I don't want to be in no kiddie pool. What's funny is that Melanie started working in Atlanta North Adventist School, which is not too far from here. And this Monday is her first day of school. She's super excited. But she realized that from where we live to her school, it's about a 25-minute drive. But because she gets out during school time, it turns into almost an hour in traffic, and she hates it. And right now, we're trying to make it work with only one car, and it's not working out. And school hasn't even started. So me and Melanie, we, have started to contemplate the idea that maybe we should move a little bit closer to her school. So that way we're more like halfway, So we started looking at apartments to probably move at the end of this year, and we found this apartment that was beautiful, and it was right in our price range. And that area, those of you that know of the Don't Worry area, perimeter area, that area is really expensive for apartments. So we cannot afford more than half of the apartments there. But we found this one apartment that was beautiful and we could afford. We were like, wow. And then I showed Melanie, and Melanie's like, oh. And then I tell Melanie, the only little detail is that this apartment doesn't have pool. Oh man, you should have seen her face. She was like, what? We'll keep looking. And I was like, oh man, all right. It's important to have a pool, especially on summer. But hey, if I would have looked at Melanie and be like, hey, don't worry, I bought a kiddie pool for this for this week, we'll be fine. We'll just set it up outside of apartment. Actually, we can set it up inside of the apartment in the living room, and we'll be fine. Come join me, Melanie. Let's just... She would have not been happy. Why? Because this is a kiddie pool. We're adults. Well, here's the thing. This morning, the lamb that is a shepherd is calling you out. Because you have been coming to church probably your entire life. You have been in the entrance of the temple your entire life, and you have become an expert on everything there is to learn about the temple and about the Bible and about the people in the church, but you are still in ankle deep water. And the Lamb is telling you today, come a little deeper. There is people here today that they were born in the church, they were raised in the church, and they're experts in the Bible. But every summer, every Saturday, they jump into the kiddie pool. And they feel good. It feels good. Because especially when it's hot outside, even if it's a little water that is in your feet, it feels right. It feels just right. And if you get too hot, you can always just do one of these, or just sit in the water. And it feels right. Especially what makes it feel the best is that you're in control. The reason why my mom hates the beach is because she feels she's not in control. She's not a good swimmer. And as soon as the waves approach her, she freaks out. She's not in control anymore. And many people in the church have been living their entire lives in the kiddie pool so that they can be in control. Oh, but I come to church every Saturday. Oh, but I know the book of Revelation. Oh, but I know the book of Daniel. I know the 28 doctrines. I don't think there's anyone in the church who knows the 28 doctrines better than I do. But I'm in the kiddie pool. Spiritually, because I'm in control. We have about 6 months, 5 months, from now till the end of the year. And we're going to continue to study the book of Revelation. But I have one goal and one goal only. For this church to achieve before the year ends. And before we finish this series. My only goal with this series, my only goal for this church is that we are able to ditch the kiddie pool. And we start walking. And it's okay. It can be a slow walk. We'll do it together. But let's start walking. Let's go knee deep. Let's go waist deep. You know what? Why don't we just plunge into the deep waters? My goal for this church is that we follow the shepherding lamb into the deep waters where we have no control. Where church politics, church arguments don't matter. Because you're not in control. I'm not in control. He's in control. And there's nothing we can do because we're so deep into it that the only thing we can do is let ourselves go. And let the shepherd take care of us. No politics, no arguments. It is done. What's amazing about Ezekiel 47 is that Ezekiel 47, where's my picture? It went away. All right. I had a picture there. I don't know why it's not showing. But Ezekiel 47 says that this stream of water that is coming out of the temple, anyone that can see a map, I had a map here, but for some reason it's not showing. I had a map there of Jerusalem. And anyone that can see the temple in the map, you can trace kind of like a estimate of the coordinates that says here, because here it says that it was flowing to the east and south and like all these directions, right? If you trace kind of like where the water is going, there's only one possible place where this stream of water ends. And the Jewish people knew this. The stream of water that Ezekiel is describing ends in the Dead Sea. And I had a picture of the Dead Sea. Has anyone here been able to visit the Dead Sea? Anyone? In Jordan, Dead Sea? All right. Hopefully, at least you've been able to see a picture. If not, when you get out of here today, search it up on Google, look at the pictures. If you are able to see a picture of the Dead Sea, you're going to see plenty of animals and wildlife in the Dead Sea. No. The Dead Sea is called the Dead Sea for a reason. In the Dead Sea, there's no life. It is dead. And the reason why it's dead is because the levels of salt in that water are so high that they make it impossible for any living creature to survive in that sea. Therefore, they named it the Dead Sea. And when you see pictures of it up close, it's so full of salt that you can actually, if you see pictures up close, you can actually see the rocks of salt in the water. I had never seen it. I Googled it when I was preparing for this sermon. I was like blown away. Because in the coast, you can actually see like blocks of salt from the water coming in. I was like, whoa. It's impressive because there's no life in the water and there's no life outside the water because it's a valley, and that valley is also dead because there's no fresh water for animals to go drink from it. So it's a dead valley and a dead sea. What's impressive about it is that when Ezekiel received this vision and the angel guides Ezekiel through this stream of water, it gets to the point that he says that they reach a river. And later on, if we continue reading, I'll read it for you. It says here, the man asked me, have you been watching? Then he led me back along the riverbank. And when I turned, I was surprised by the sight of many trees growing on both sides of the river, through the desert into the valley of the Dead Sea. The waters of the stream will make the salty waters of the Dead Sea fresh and pure. There will be swarms of living things wherever the water of this river flows. Fish will abound in the Dead Sea, for its water will become fresh, sweet. Life will flourish wherever this water flows. Fishermen will stand along the shores of the Dead Sea, all the way from En-Gedi to En-Eglaim. The shores will be covered with nets drying in the sun. Fish of every kind will fill the sea, just as they fill the Mediterranean. For a Jewish person that has seen the Dead Sea, for anyone that has seen the Dead Sea, it is impossible in their minds to imagine this place that is completely desolate, that has no living creature on it, to be described in this way. But the angel of the Lord, this man that is guiding, this shepherd that is guiding Ezekiel through the waters, shows him that where the water flows, there's plenty of life. Therefore, when the waters reach the Dead Sea, trees grow in both sides of the river, and the water is full of fish because the water is turned into sweet, fresh water. We have been living in ankle-deep fresh water. We have been living in blessings that are ankle-deep. Because we are afraid of allowing God to take control over our lives. But as we walk together as a church in the remainder of this year through the book of Revelation, if we are able to let go and go into the deep waters, we will drown in blessings of sweet water over us. Because this water is life-giving water. And where the presence of the Lord is, there is freedom. And where the presence of the Lord is, there's no death. It is time, church. This is a very simple sermon. But no matter how simple we make these sermons, there's still people here that don't get it. The shepherd is calling us to step out of the ankle-deep water, step out of the kiddie pool, and allow him to take over your life. It is time. It is time to ditch the kiddie pool. So, I want to ask you a question. As the deacons come forward, they get ready to collect the offerings. I want you to think about this. The fresh waters finish in the Dead Sea, in the river. And they turn the river into fresh water. And it says that it's plentiful and it's a blessing to every creature, this water. My question for you today is, shall we gather at the river? Or are you going to stay in the kiddie pool? I know there's parts of my life, personally, there's areas of my life that I have not allowed God to take control over. And I'm being honest with you. Yeah, there's many areas of my life that I say, yeah, I'm in control of this. You have control of these other things, but I'm in control of this. And you know what? This message applies to me. I'm a pastor that has been living in ankle-deep water. But I'm walking forward. I want to be submerged. I'm walking towards the river. And the question today for you is, shall we gather at the river? Let's stand and sing together.